It was the mid-70s. I was sitting on my mom's bed, the one with the built-in bookshelves where I later found everything you always wanted to know about sex but were afraid to ask. I wasn't even double digits yet, maybe 8 or 9, and my mom began talking in a tone I instinctively knew was serious. She said, "Honey, I'm an alcoholic. I want to tell you about it because it can be hereditary, and I don't want you girls to have to go through what I did." She told me about her wine, including a story from when I was 2 years old. I toddled in front of her, saw her wine glass was empty, and said, "I fill it, Mommy." She got sober when I was 2. Even as a toddler, I knew Mommy liked wine in her glass. So let's fast forward 16 or so years. It was my first year of sobriety. I was sitting in the front row of a Saturday night AA speaker meeting. A meeting I was responsible for coordinating the speakers for. And I was listening to my mom tell her story. I had heard fragments of it throughout my life, but this was the first time I heard it from the beginning to the end. She talked about the 1960s, walking into the store to buy her wine, sliding the money across the counter so that the cashier wouldn't see her hands shaking. And when she said that, a wave of recognition hit me. I had done the exact same thing in the 80s. In that moment, our experiences snapped together like two pieces of the same blueprint. At the end of her story, she teared up and said, "I am worried I passed this on to Joanne and that it's my fault." But I didn't see it that way. Nearing a year of sobriety myself, I didn't feel like she passed on alcohol use disorder. I felt she passed on recovery. The cliche but true sayings she repeated my whole life, one day at a time. This too shall pass. The serenity prayer was hanging on our wall. Those laid down the scaffolding of my recovery long before I ever picked up a drink or later put it down. Even during years she wasn't going to meetings, she still showed up for the people the universe placed in her path. She passed on her experience, strength, and hope. She shared her recovery, not her addiction. And today, on National Family History Day, I'm thinking about that legacy. Family History Day was created as a public health observance to encourage families to share health information, especially around Thanksgiving gatherings. The point is to understand genetic predispositions, stress vulnerabilities, and patterns that shape our long-term health. But for those of us in recovery, family history is more than a medical record. It's our first blueprint, our first exposure to stress, our first models of coping or not coping, our first lessons about emotional regulation, silence, conflict, survival, or escape. Our early roles, the fixer, the strong one, the achiever, the invisible one. And here's the truth most professionals never hear. Family history is not destiny. It's a blueprint, and blueprints can be redesigned. Understanding your family history isn't about blame. It's about clarity. It helps explain why certain people trigger you, why holidays feel stressful, why silence feels unsafe, why alcohol once felt like the fastest path to relief, why your nervous system reacts the way it does, even inside a very competent, very successful adult body. Science backs this up. Stress patterns, coping behaviors, and emotional suppression can be transmitted across generations. Not genetically like eye color, but through modeling, epigenetics, and the nervous system adaptations we learn in childhood. Family history is not just about the past. It's about the patterns we carry into the present. And the work of recovery, especially long-term recovery, is not to erase the blueprint. It's to become the architect who revises it. Just like my mom inadvertently passed down the architecture of recovery, not just the architecture of addiction, you now have the chance to decide what gets carried forward and what stops with you. So, on this Family History Day, here's your invitation. What patterns are you ready to interrupt? What strengths are you choosing to keep? And what legacy, biological or chosen, do you want to build next? You are the architect now, and you get to draw the next chapter of your family's blueprint.